Hey fam, so you can see behind me, I'm going to try to project my voice because I live in the city. And while it's a beautiful scene behind me, I'm in a city park. So bear with the noise, please. I'm trying. But I wanted to show you guys because I'm here with my puppy today and we're just hanging out for a bit. But this right here, if you've been following me for a minute, you will have seen that in one of my last videos about fairy books for fairy witches or whatever I called it, I talked a little bit about a wand that I had been given and like the whole story behind all that. But this is the willow tree that I got that wand from. As you can see, it is definitely collapsed. This little hump right here, I used to be able to sit on that and be like in the canopy of the willow, and it was my heaven. And I'm sad because it fell like a week and a half ago during a big storm. But she called me to come out and get my wand from her finally. As long as I've been a witch, I've always wanted a willow wand and I never had one. So stick around. I am going to be showing you how that turned out at some point in this video. I will be sharing that with you guys because I absolutely love this wand. I feel like it just like magically came together so perfectly. And it's from a tree that I had a relationship with for like 6 years. Still do, obviously. I'm just hanging out on her sibling right now. So I just wanted to show you guys that. The point of this video is actually to get to my currently reading and very soon to be TBR. So, but I'm going to have to shoot that for you when I get back home because it is noisy out here and I live in the Windy City, like literally. So I will see y'all very soon. So yeah, different day, but I told you I'm busy right now. So let's get into this. This is the books that I'm currently reading, which I am reading more than one book right now, but it is what it is. This is usually how I tend to be in general. But so I'm reading a few books right now, and this is also a few books that are like very soon on my TBR because I have a really long list of books that I plan on reading, but I do kind of have, obviously there's ones I'm going to read sooner than others. So anyway, this one I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about because I've already mentioned it more than once, but I am rereading The White Queen by Philippa Gregory. For those who've been following me, I just a little while ago finished the first book in Philippa Gregory's Cousins War series that flows into her Tudors novels. And that one was The Lady of the Rivers. You can check out my review on that. I really, really loved it. And that was basically about Jaquetta Woodville, who was the mother of the White Queen, Elizabeth Woodville. Oh, I absolutely, like I said, I've talked about this a lot, but I really love this book. It's probably, as of right now, still so far, it is my favorite Philippa Gregory novel that I have read. But I still have kind of a lot of her books that I have not read yet. So, but yeah, so I'm like almost halfway through this one, and it's been probably close to a decade to some degree. I don't know exactly, but it's been a hot minute since I read this originally, and so I've really been enjoying going back through it. I really love the character of Elizabeth Woodville. She's very spicy and sassy. Like she does not put up with stuff. And she is super witchy. She gets it from her mom, but I would say she's definitely has like this more vengeful side to her, which I totally understand. She has a very different life than what her mother experienced, and she goes through kind of a lot more loss, especially at like an earlier age than her mom. So, but she definitely has this very vengeful side to her. The stuff she goes through, I get why she would want to be cursing people, although as this story and really like the series itself, even though this is historical fiction, as I've said before, I love how Philippa Gregory weaves the like witchcraft and the magic into the story, because it actually does play a pretty big role and the way that she weaves everything together. But I really appreciate it because she really does show, I'm sure maybe it's intentional. I don't know. Maybe it's just because she's working with actual historical events, but she really does show how you don't want to be using magic to just be throwing curses around because it will come back to bite you in the butt. The one of the other books that I am currently reading is actually the first book that I have ever read by Jean Calogridis, and that is The Borgia Bride. For those of you who are unfamiliar with who the Borgias were, basically the way that I've heard them described is like they were like the original mobsters, the original mafia in Italy. So the patriarch of the family was oh my God, I can't think of his actual name right now, but he was Pope Alexander Sextus, I think like the sixth or something. Pope Alexander Sextus the Sixth. He became Pope in like 1492. I specifically remember that at least. And so this book is not actually written from a perspective of one of the Borgias because this was during a time period that the popes and cardinals, even though they weren't supposed to get married, they definitely still had like mistresses and would often have children from those relationships. And that's kind of the case with Rodrigo. That was his name. What? Rodrigo Borgia, Pope Alexander. He definitely, I think he had like 4 children. And so this story is actually told from the perspective of Sancho of Aragon, who married, I believe it was his youngest son, if not youngest, like second to youngest. But it was definitely one of the like less interesting children. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know really how the story of the Borgias historically ends. I actually found out about them through the show on, I believe it was on Netflix. I don't even think it's on Netflix anymore. But it's a really good show. I loved all the actors in it, but they only made 3 seasons. It was supposed to have, I think, at least 4, and they just like ran out of a budget, which is really unfortunate. It was beautiful. I think they actually shot parts of it in the Vatican. Maybe that's why they ran out of a budget. I don't know. Regardless, I don't know enough about like the backstories with a lot of like what happens to these characters in real life. So it does kind of add an extra layer of like curiosity to the story for me. But yeah, I'm really so far liking the character of Sancha of Aragon in this. Like she is also very like she's just very like strong-willed and like free-spirited and does what she wants. She is the bastard daughter of the king of Naples at the time, because this is during the time period when Italy was still not like one country. It was still divided into like, was it city states or whatever they call them. And so yeah, it's really interesting. I've never read about this time period, and I've also never read anything like happening during the Italian Renaissance. So I'm really liking it so far. And so far, I will say I'm liking Jean Calogridis's writing style. It's not quite as how do I say it? Like Philippa Gregory has a kind of almost like a slower way of writing, and it's to some degree can at moments come across as a little impersonal. Whereas so far, what I've been reading with Jean Calogridis is it's reading much more like an actual, like just like a novel. She's it's a little more modern. I feel like is I don't know how else to describe that. I hope you get what I'm saying, but so yeah, it's a lot quicker to get through as well, and yeah, there's some really creepy stuff right out the gate. But again, I'm gonna save more of that in-depth stuff for whenever I do the review on this book. Moving on, one of the ones that I have not started reading yet, but it is very soon on my TBR. I'm going to read this one after The Borgia Bride. Even though this one is technically set in 1357, but I'm going to read it next. It's by Jean Calogridis also. But like I said, this one is 1357. So this is during the time when like the Inquisition is like super in power over in Europe, and the bubonic plague has like, I think this is like during the first like really bad wave of the Black Death. It's like during just a really intense historical time period in medieval Europe. And so this is a story about a midwife who, you know, was also kind of witchy. It sounds like, again, I have not read this, but it sounds like from the back, she's basically a midwife that is essentially a witch. At the very least, she becomes accused of that because of some of the wisdom that she has. As we know that's I mean, this is called the Burning Times. It's literally why I wanted to read this book, because the Burning Times is also, for those who are unaware, what is referred to often by like witches as the time when, you know, witches were being burnt left and right, and it was a large percentage of women that were being persecuted in this kind of way for witchcraft. And a lot of the times, if they were anything remotely like what we would call a witch, it was very likely they were just midwives. I'm not going to go on a whole rabbit hole about like the real life historical witch burning times. But that was what drew my attention to this book, obviously. And it sounds like she is a witch kind of character in this story, but I'm intrigued also because apparently this might be a bit of a love story between this witchy character Sybil and a monk that ends up taking pity on her when she's like in a dangerous situation, and he's going to help her out, I guess. So I don't know. Sounds really interesting. I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about a romance with a monk, but I'm also just curious because like this is a really interesting historical time period, and I have like a fascination with like the Black Death specifically. Really, any like huge tragedies in history. I don't know. It's fascinating to me, and I'm just always super grateful I don't live in those time periods. So anyway, the last couple books that I wanted to talk about are all right. So these are definitely going to be getting their own individual videos as well. However, I just had to mention that. So I'm pretty sure that probably everyone out there at this point has seen the movie Practical Magic. If you have not, it's an older movie with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and it came out in like 1998, I think. I don't know. I am a huge fan of both of those actresses, even though I have not seen anything with either of them in it for a really long time. Beside the point. But I absolutely love that movie. It is one of my favorite, like, fun, like, whimsical witch kind of movies. And it's, like, whimsical, but it's whimsical for adults. And that's not something that I've personally really come across a whole lot. So it's ever since I realized that movie was based on a book, I've been wanting to read it. And I have not read it yet. Or had not so far. I'm actually like more than halfway through this book right now because it's actually, I'm getting through it really quickly. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this book in particular. People who love the movie say that it's very different from the book, or the book is different than the movie, which I'm finding to be true. And again, I'm going to get into this. I'm probably going to make a video very soon talking about the difference between like the book and the movie and comparing and contrasting because, like I said, I'm getting through this one pretty quickly, but I do see the differences, but also I don't personally mind the differences so much. I feel like there's more room to tell a story in a book. So a lot of the differences I'm seeing, like what they changed in the movie, they really seem to have changed more just for time reasons. But I guess we'll find out how the book ends or whatever. But so far, it just seems like there's a lot more kind of going on. And that's why the changes that have happened. But anyway, like I said, you're going to get a video very soon regarding this. But the reason I also wanted to talk about this is because I realized I absolutely am in love with Alice Hoffman's writing. The way that, like, just her writing style in general, like I said, it's very whimsical. It's almost like there's moments that are very poetic and lyrical. There's sections in the book that she is talking of, like, she'll have like little clips that are almost like pieces of like a witch, like the witch's grimoire. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. They're like spell book, you know. And she'll have like little sections throughout the story that are kind of like that in different places, and it kind of in some ways relates and in some ways maybe doesn't super much to the story, but it just adds that like specialness to it. And so I'm absolutely loving it. And I ended up finding out that a couple years ago, I think in like 2020, she published the the prequel, like the first. There's apparently 4 books in the Practical Magic series. Practical Magic, I believe, was the first one she wrote, but it's technically the third in the series. I have the second one in the mail, but I already got, like, look at this one. This one is beautiful. I want to get the Practical Magic version of like this newer cover because it is so stunning. I absolutely, and it just adds to the like pretty whimsy vibe. Ugh. But anyway, so Magic Lessons. This is the prequel of the entire series. So it's basically, if you've seen the movie, this is the story of Maria Owens, who is the ancestress in the 1600s of the Owens witches. And so this is her story. I barely started this one because I couldn't help myself. I was just really excited and it's so beautiful. I just like immediately wanted to open it. And I'm finding it even easier to read than Practical Magic. And honestly, I'm feeling I might like it a little bit better. So it starts in 1666, and so it is like very historical fantasy, and it's even more whimsy than Practical Magic. Like it's hard for me to explain without giving different spoilers, but just some of the like witchy lore that she throws into her version of what witchcraft is just like it's so like cute. Even the darker aspects of it are just like it's not scary creepy, it's just like whimsy dark. I don't know how to describe it. I have heard that this book does get a lot darker, which so far it seems like Practical Magic is. Definitely there's been a few moments that have gotten darker than I expected in it. So but yeah, I've heard this one gets darker than Practical Magic, so but I'm fine with that. It sounds great. Yeah, like I said, I'm not very far into it. I'm only on, what page is this? I'm only on page like 52. So I haven't even gotten that far into it because I'm actually trying to finish Practical Magic first. But like I said, I couldn't help myself. Look how beautiful it is. And then, like I said, I have the second one in the Practical Magic series in the mail. It was supposed to be here today, but I don't know. I guess that didn't happen. It's fine. I'm not in a huge rush, but that one is called The Rules of Magic, and I believe it is the story of the aunts in the movie. So I don't even remember their names right now, but it's basically the story of them. And then the fourth book in the series is, which I have not ordered yet. I think it's like the newest one, and I am just being cheap right now. But that one is called The Book of Magic. And I believe that one is more in depth about Sally's daughters, which I am also kind of going to be interested to. I definitely want to read that one too. For when there's only 4 books in the series, might as well read it. But Sally's daughters in Practical Magic are definitely not really like little kids for very long. The way in the movie they're children pretty much the entire movie. In this one, they get into like, at least so far, they're like teenagers. So part of this story is also part of their story. Again, I haven't finished it yet, so we'll see how that goes. But that's what the fourth book, the Book of Magic, is their story. So to my understanding, so those are all of my currently reading and very soon to be TBRs. I hope that you got some fun ideas from any of these. I definitely would recommend any of these books, even the ones that I haven't actually like finished or fully read yet or even started yet. I'm really excited about all of them. So if you're looking for anything fun and interesting, and yeah, I feel like a lot of these are very witchy. In general, like it's just kind of my thing. Even the Borgia Bride, very early on in the book, she goes to visit a witch to get her fortune told. So, and even that was very, it was really well done. I really appreciated how Jean Calligridis like worked that scene into it. It felt very, very realistic for that type of tradition. So I'll just leave it at that. The last thing I want to do is real quick show y'all my willow wand because I did promise that like a week ago. So yeah, I'm gonna grab that for y'all real quick. And so here she is. I actually had a perfect quartz crystal that I had been gifted like a little over a year ago by another witchy friend of mine, and it fit perfectly, like right where the branch was cut, if you can see there. well, actually, you can't because I wrapped this little green material around it, but it literally, that's why it looks so perfect, because it fit on there perfectly like it was meant to be. This little rose quartz crescent moon was also gifted to me. This, I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember. So this stone was gifted to me by my partner. I don't even remember what kind of stone it is. It's definitely not aventurine. It's not malachite. It's not jade. It's not any of the kinds of green crystals I'm familiar with. I'm trying to find like a good angle if you guys can see. I feel like it has a really weird name and I'm just not familiar with it. But I wrapped it in this little heart kind of, it was meant to be a pendant a while ago, but I ended up, I had just had it on my altar in a little offering bowl to Artemis for a while. She's one of my primary goddesses. And then this here was an earring of mine. These are little aventurine chips, just like up here. I have little amethyst crystal chips. But yeah, so this was part of an earring, but I turned it upside down. This was originally a necklace. It's my little goddess with my little opalite stone. And then these here are more aventurine stones. And I decided to just keep the wand all, like with the like natural wood, so it's actually still drying out. And I know some people are going to have feelings about this, but I just used E6000 to glue everything into place because I don't have a problem with that personally. I don't think that it's going to in any way detract from the energy because this is like literally the most potent wand I have ever created. Just because of the connection I had with the tree, all of the things on it in general, it's got some mad vibes. It's pretty great. But but yeah, for crafting, I would 100% like E6000 is my favorite type of glue because it basically dries like clear cement. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and do what I said I was going to do and let you guys see how my wand turned out. I still absolutely love how it feels in my hand. I'm just honestly just now enjoying just holding it. So I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you so much for being here. If this kind of thing interests you, I make videos on writing advice. I make videos on obviously books and whatever. If you're interested, I have been kind of playing with the idea of having a few like little witchier videos here and there. Still mostly focused on like books and writing and storytelling because that's my favorite creative thing, but I am a witch and I do like talking about my stuff. So if anything like that is interesting to you, you're curious, comment below, let me know. Have you read any of the books I talked about today? How do you feel about them? Let me know. Also, you will always get one video at least a week from me every Wednesday, but I also do try for an extra video on weekends when I have the time. For those who haven't already, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for being here, and I'll see y'all very soon. Happy reading!